He threw a leg across that iron horse and pulled the throttle down. A million things rushing through his mind like that rumbling sound. Living life in his own eyes, direction isn't clear. So searching all these years.
This is Pastor Ski of the Russianwood Biker Church out in Holbrook, New York. I want to welcome you today to the program. And so it's the beginning of August. Summer's kind of winding down. Things are getting, opening up. Beaches are going. Actually rainy today, so it's a little rainy out. But life is getting back to somewhat normal. And of course now, the government's out there with the Delta variant. Like, we haven't had enough of this garbage already. And so all kinds of craziness going on in our world today. And last week, what did we talk about last week? We talked about, I think, peace of mind last week, and how to get peace of mind in the world today. And so as we continue moving through, just a lot of what we're trying to understand, how to get through this hard time in life. Right now, in our church, I'm going through a series on different things that life just seems like it's hard these days. Can't sleep. It just seems like sickness is all around us. Pain is all around us. Suffering is all around us. How do you process pain? How do you process, this disease? People get sick, people die, and all this stuff that's going on around us. It just seems like there's an oppression that is hovering over the entire planet at this point, where people just are anxious all the time. Is there anything good? How do we find a good life? Good thoughts? How do we get our mind out of what's going on? And so I've been going through a couple of different topics on how to persevere, and of course it's through my faith in Jesus Christ, and the things that we're taught, and the things that God gives us the strength through His Spirit to move in this life when it's very hard, very challenging. Christians are being persecuted now more than they have in my lifetime, and even in our country, where we're kind of a second-rate citizen at this point, domestic terrorists, if you will. Kind of crazy when you hear the language that is being used nowadays. And so today I want to talk about something that really transcends religion, transcends Christian thought. I will bring that to play in this, and this whole idea of friendship, having friends, having people around us that we can count on, people we can talk with, share our hearts with, share our pain with, help them through things, and then not worrying about it being on Facebook or going through the social circles that we're in. And so friendship is something that really is critical to our life. We're not wired to go through life alone. We're not meant to go through life alone. Whether you believe in God or not, you have to admit loneliness is very prevalent nowadays. Suicide is off the charts. The government is leveraging loneliness because they know that there's strength in unity. And whether how you view what's been going on with this pandemic and the laws and the mask mandates and all these other things, the government has done a good job of separating us, keeping us isolated. Social distancing is actually one of the most unhealthy principles in humanity, because we are created to need people as much as we're created to need air and water and food. And so we've seen a breakdown in humanity. Anger, hate. We look at why all the racial tension, all the class tension has really risen off the charts, and in no small part it's because the powers that be have been able to separate, isolate, and then put us at each other. And so I want to talk a little bit today about friendship, because we all need a friend, and I want to really explain maybe the understanding of what a friend was really meant to be, because we have a lot of different social circles, we have spheres of influence in our life, and people are only supposed to be so close to us, depending on our interactions, depending on how much we trust them, and then as we get to know people, we get to do life with people, they get to be part of a smaller inner circle, and eventually become what's called a friend. And being a pastor of a church, just a sidebar as we kind of wind down this first segment, leading into the discussion we want to have. What is building a church? It's actually building a community based on friendship. Motorcycle clubs. We look at the culture that I am privileged to minister to and be part of, and there's a core of brotherhood, friendship. I got in trouble when I first got into to biker ministry some 15 years ago. I was interviewed on Christian television by an old elderly man who was a church planter and a theologian, a pastor in his own right, and being what I am and what I do, evangelizing the hardcore motorcycle culture. I hadn't started the church at that point. It's kind of an intriguing topic of conversation, and being a Christian and being involved in churches most of my life, and then getting involved in the motorcycle club culture, and being involved and going and being part of a community that has these pockets of men, sometimes women, that are together for a unified purpose, a unified cause, and their family. And I got myself in trouble on Christian television years ago when I said that if the church started to come together as real brothers and real sisters and protect each other and support each other and financially support each other when a brother gets hurt or they go through financial problems, the way a motorcycle club does, then the church would actually look like what the church was supposed to be. And that didn't go over too well, because I got a lot of hate mail, and this man, actually his face kind of went blank when I compared the church to a hardcore motorcycle club, and he didn't actually know how to process that. But the church is supposed to be based on friendships and family, and people that have come together in life and become close enough, and to develop a few friendships within a church that you can share everything with and be there for each other. Sometimes we call them accountability partners. And, sometimes pockets of humanity will have that. And, of course, they go in a different direction, and their answers are usually more harmful than good. Somebody's going through something, and it's a painful, emotional experience, and and your best friend, your brother, or your sister in your club, well, let's drink, because that solves everything, I guess. But they care, but they don't have the tools and the facilities to be able to address it in a healthy way. So they do the best they can. But the church starts to be the church, and a community built on friendship. who would do what Jesus called us to do. And so when we come back from our first break, I want to talk a little bit about friendship. What has corrupted it in this day and age? And how can we can start to develop good friends? Because I imagine most of you out there, you have many acquaintances, you have people that you call friends, but will you trust them with everything that's in your mind and everything that's in your heart, and know in your heart that it's not going to go anywhere? Because that's really what a friend is for. And so when we come back after our first break on Answers to Mars Hill, we're going to talk about friendship, what it means to be a friend, and how the world has ripped that premise and really trashed it. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Motorcycle Mike, the personal injury lawyer. I've been riding motorcycles my entire adult life. During the course of my 30-year career as a lawyer, I've also represented countless injured motorcyclists. If you're one of them, I can be of assistance to you. Go to my website, please, motorcyclemikeesq.com. I'll always be there for you. I'm on your side when you ride.
So welcome back to Answers to Mars Hill, and today we're talking about friendship. I'm going to start off with a scripture in the Bible, a little different than I normally do. And this is Solomon, back in the Old Testament. Solomon is known as one of the wisest men that ever lived, and there's a couple of things I want to share through the program of that. But in Ecclesiastes, a book that he wrote, just about life and how life can be meaningless at times. He writes this. He says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up. Furthermore, if two lie down together, they can keep warm, but who can keep warm alone? And if one can overpower him who is alone, two can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart." Solomon was full of wisdom, and he understood, and this is godly wisdom, but also stuff that we would understand even if we're not a God person, that we need something. We need some help in times. We need to go through things to have mutual support. And I want people to understand that there's been an agenda in this world, in our country in particular. And I believe it's spiritually based, because I believe there are spiritual powers that facilitate, create, raise up men, just like God raises up men to spread love, spread caring, spread the gospel, and spread Jesus. We have another force out there that is raising up people to corrupt, torment, tear apart society. And these men right now are working very powerfully, and don't laugh and don't go, here we go, but social media. Social media has been one of the biggest corruptions of our social system. When we think about it, we're talking about friends, and how many friends you got on your Facebook page, or Twitter account, or Instagram, or whatever it is. I mean, I got like 1,500 friends on my Facebook account, and literally 2/3 of them I've never met. A lot of them are more acquaintances, casual acquaintances, people I know, people that I am friendly with. Then there's some that are in my church, and so they're closer, and there's some that are in the church in general, because I have friends and people from all different churches. But there's this open book of everybody's life, and everybody is looking in, and they're voyeurs, and they're curious, and they're gossip mongers, that we just blurt everything about ourselves on there because they're on our friends list. You know, and it's amazing to me as we see people go on their Facebook page and ask for advice on who they should marry, how they should deal with a relationship. When I was battling cancer, I had people trying to give me advice on how to treat my cancer from my Facebook list of friends. Like I should weigh that more than a piece of paper or a drop of water. I don't know most of these people from nobody. And what happens is now people share everything, and now they share it with other people, and everybody knows everything in your life. And then there's those people that are around you that might be close to you, and also there's people on everybody's Facebook page that is looking for information. And so you end up getting relationships that are trashed on Facebook. You end up, people don't call each other, they text each other. And so nobody is really forming any kind of real friendship. And it just creates all these thoughts that you have friends that really aren't your friends, and you don't find out until they stab you in the back. They've shared the one thing you've shared with them with everything else. And then what has happened, and this is by design, is nobody trusts anybody to be their friend. Nobody even trusts their best of friends, because there's so many times that stuff is being gossiped and people are talking about us, and many of us find ourselves sharing information that people put out there. Did you hear what happened to this person? You hear what happened to that person? And now nobody has a real friend that they can, get close to and actually cry on, talk with, because it's just going to end up on Facebook. We're constantly looking over our shoulder to see who's got a camera on their phone, and I got to watch everything I'm doing, and there's no intimacy and friendship anymore. And so, discussion of friends is very important. And I want to bring my producer in, Bobby, and this is important because I consider Bobby a friend. But as I unpacked this, and I did this in church, and I was telling the people in our church that even the majority of the people in my church are not friends as you would describe it according to the Bible. Because really, if you have one or two true friends in your life, you have more than most people. And that's all you need. We have a lot of people that are around us that we're social with, we love them, we care for them, we do life with, and they might be family, and they're much more than acquaintances. But a friend, according to the Bible, is something very, very special. How are you doing, Bobby?
We're doing good.
Yeah, you are a friend, kind of.
Yeah. No, I know you have become a friend also, but that's because we weren't just online. We saw each other each week over and over and over again, and each week talked a little bit, got to know each other. It kind of reminds me of the Bible. The Bible is a book of revelation, and it's about little by little through each story getting to know God. Mm-hmm. And that's the way we should be with every person in our life. We should try and get to know them a little bit, and you either develop a relationship or you don't, Yeah. But yeah.
Well, it's important that we have at least one or two people that we can sit and just share everything with.
Yeah.
In the Bible, that's what's called a friend. Someone who doesn't share anything you say.
And that you got to be careful today, because sometimes you think someone is your friend and you reveal something to them, and then unfortunately you hear it from somebody else and you're like, I can't believe they, So we have to be careful.
Yeah, this is
at the same time.
Again, Solomon again. This is Solomon who never saw Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
And in Proverbs chapter 18, it says, a man of too many friends comes to ruin. But there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. He said, a friend who sticks closer than a brother.
Yeah.
And so now he's saying a friend is closer than a brother. And so we start to understand that friendship is something that's very special. Abraham was called a friend of God. All right, that's a pretty high position to be in. you know, to be someone's friend, especially God's friend, someone God trusted with his plan for humanity, you know. And that's the intimacy of what a friend is really supposed to be, you know. And you look at how this concept of friends, you know, Mark Zuckerberg has created a platform that has opened up this thought of friendship to everybody and anybody that that clicks on your page. And so now I got 1,500 friends. I must be a really popular, nice guy, you know. Meanwhile, you got tons of people that are just, they're going through Facebook scrolling for something they can share on somebody, for dirt they can get, you know. And that's not a small part of what's on your Facebook page, you know. And I know myself, and I know most people, there are people, you have enemies on your friends list that are just looking, and they're waiting for the one mistake, you know. And some of those enemies you might actually think are friends. They might actually be people around you. And so so this platforming has created an opportunity for people to share their mind, and the mind should not be shared with everybody, you know, because eventually you trust no one, and then the day's going to come when you actually need someone.
You know, and this reminds me, is I was reading I forget where I was reading it from, but this person was describing, like, Facebook. Everybody's got their opinions, you know. Everybody's, you know, just spouting all their opinions. Mm-hmm. It's like in a way you opening up the front door to your house and literally just letting everybody come in and just start talking and in your home and in your life. And like, it's really true, because we may not be opening the door, but as soon as we open up that app, and then all of a sudden we're scrolling through everybody's information, everybody's opinion on everything, and it's not healthy.
No.
It's not healthy. We wouldn't, if we got rid of that, we would not be accessing all these people every day. It's almost like going back to old school and just having a line around the block, and just one after another, someone's coming into your house, hey, I did this, or hey, look at this, what I blah, 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 or oh, why me, or I'm in so much pain, I'm sick, blah, 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 nobody loves me. It's just like all this over and over. It would never stop.
Yeah. And
as great as Facebook is to connect people, it's providing a lot of false friendships, and like you said, this overabundance of information that we should not be absorbing every day, every moment. So
yeah.
It's hard. It's a tough spot.
I mean, this platform of accepting anybody as your friend has caused a lot of heartache, broken up a lot of marriages, caused a lot of deaths. You know, there's this online game that people are doing now that it's like a suicide game, that people are actually killing themselves on accident. I forgot what it is, but last week another young person died, you know, and they're online with these people that are friends that you don't know who it is. You know, there's people who have hooked up with a friend to find out that, you know, that 16-year-old girl was really a 40-year-old pedophile, and it's corrupted the whole thing. So now people are afraid of the word friend. You know, it's like, no, I don't need friends. You know, and that's not a healthy place to be, because we can't live life alone. You know, and what's happened with this pandemic and social distancing, this is a strategy that I believe, and I know in my heart, is a spiritual strategy that is trying to change the world dynamic to hate, destruction, death, and keeping people from loving each other and caring about each other. Everything that God stands for is being ripped apart right now by this force. You know, you could blame a politician, you could blame a party, you could blame all kinds of things you want, but it's too big for that. You know, this is international at this point. And there's a force that is trying to break us down. And we have to get to the point where we can have friends, be friends, And so we'll be back in a few minutes on Answers from Mars Hill. Hi, everyone. Pastor Ski here, and I want to thank you for watching our program. I want to just tell you about two resources that I have for you, sources of encouragement. You know, I've lived a very challenging life, and God has allowed me to go through a lot of things, and I've written 2 books. The first one is called The Fear of Life. This is kind of my life story of a very hard childhood, very dark childhood, dark family life, and how God redeemed my life from it, how He showed me life when I thought that life wasn't available. And then I wrote this book called No Sting when I went through my battle with terminal cancer, and how God healed me, how He enlightened me, strengthened me, and made a big difference in my life. And both of these very encouraging resources, sources of inspiration. If you know people who are struggling, people who have hard lives, or people that are struggling with cancer, they would be probably a good resource. And if you would like to purchase one of these books, you can go to BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, and the Zulon Press bookstore. And I appreciate your support, and get these out and help a lot of people. God bless you all, and I'll see you down the road. Welcome back to Answers from Mars Hill. Pastor Ski again. We've been talking about friendship, and how I believe there's forces in this world that are trying to break it down. And so I want to bring my producer Bobby back in, who has some thoughts on this topic.
I just wanted to make a comment on the previous segment. You were quoting something from Solomon about how important to have that one friend. Like, you know, you don't need a million friends, but have that one person. And I just, like in today, if you can have 1 or 2 really, really, really good friends, that's a blessing today. Mm-hmm. You know, I have one friend that I've known since childhood, and, you know, we don't see each other sometimes for 2-3 years, but when we do, it's like bang, right back, you know. And I know if I ever needed anything, I could talk to him or everything. But, you know, it's sad. It's like today, just to struggle to get that one good friend, you know, let alone 2 or 3, you know, to have a little circle. I mean, it would be beautiful to have, like, you know, 2 or 3 really good friends that you can just count on for anything that you trust. And it seems like it's getting harder to do that a little bit.
Well, it's because we're fractured, and people aren't with each other enough. See, you know, the church was actually created for this purpose, so we could be around people a lot more. Mm-hmm. Church was never meant to be Sunday. It was like people doing life together, eating together, and everything else, and talking about things, and having little spats like you do with your family. And over time, you get to know people, and so you form a group of people that, you know, they love each other, they care about each other, and they're brothers and sisters, and they grow together and they grow together. And I mentioned this in church, and then there's a moment where you just have a connection with someone. Just, it might be their life story, it might be how they talk with you, how you talk with them. And I mean, for lack of a better word, it's like a magic moment that a relationship shifts from being a very close brother to a friend. And see, that even sounds funny when you hear it, because we have dumbed down friend. We have dumbed down the word. It was never meant to be just thrown around casually, you know, because friend has a lot more to do with just someone who I know, I've met, you know, we converse once in a while. And a friendship, you have one good friendship, that goes a long way. King David had actually Jonathan, his arch enemy, Saul's son, who helped him stay alive while his father was trying to kill David. And they were kind of soulmates, you know, just they covered each other's back, and they loved each other, and they cared for each other, and they served each other. And friendship is totally different than what we think it is. And I want to, just for a moment, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit on my word for the week. But the Bible really goes a long way in describing what a friend should be. Because, we sing songs like What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and Jesus, friend of sinners. And so what does that mean if we don't know what the word friend means? What do we add Jesus to our Facebook page and he's a friend? I mean, is that it? Well, it's a lot deeper than that. And just some of the things that God says about that one friend. Good friends are always a positive influence. They have an effect on making you a better person. All right? They don't take you into dark places with them, but they care about how you're thought of as a person, your character, your demeanor. Solomon, a friend loves at all times. When you're a jerk, they still love you. When you're great, they still love you. When they disagree with you, they still love you. Because love doesn't always mean like. Love is deeper than like. Good friends will always respect you. Now, what does that mean? That means that they respect your opinion and they respect your thoughts, even though they might not agree with it. Right? But they respect your opinion because they care about you. They care about what you care about. And, you have Republicans who are friends with Democrats. And you have liberals who are actual friends with conservatives. Because they might not agree, but they care about each other enough to give the other one the space to be who they want to be. Proverbs again says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. And what that means is sometimes we need to hear the hard truth about ourselves. And a friend isn't afraid to tell you the truth, that you're off base, or maybe you're going into a dark area, or you're wrong and you're hurting people. A friend will be honest with you. And if that's a friend, you'll respect that information. Someone who yeses you all the time. We always like people who agree with us, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
That's not a friend. That's not a friend. Because if a friend cared about you, they would care about what other people think about you. So if you're wrong and you're a jerk, a friend will actually tell you you're wrong and you're a jerk.
Yeah, and that's where sometimes that's where you get the expression "the truth hurts," and sometimes it takes a friend to just cut through the BS and just tell you, "Hey, brother, this is the deal. It hurts, but we need it sometimes."
Friends sacrifice for you. Obviously, Jesus, what greater love can a man have for a brother than to lay his life down? One of the attributes of a true friend is they're all about what's best for their friend, even to their own detriment. That's friendship. It's sacrificial. It's serving. It's not about me. It's about that person. I want that person to have a good life. I want that person to have a good experience. That person to feel good. That person to know they're cared about and loved. And that's an important part of friendship. And one thing I stressed in church when I talked about this is the God's honest truth. In order for you to have a friend, you need to learn to be a friend. So you need to know what a friend is if you want a friend. Because the worst thing that can happen is if somebody is an actual friend and they care and they serve and they are sacrificial, and the other person is not. The other person is self-serving, will just take everything you can give them. The results of someone who gives unconditional friendship to someone who doesn't return it is they're crucified. It's why Jesus was crucified. And I think all of us has been in a place where we poured out our life and went the distance for someone only to be stabbed in the back. It feels like crucifixion when someone you thought was a friend isn't there. I'm sure you've had that in your life, Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing worse than being that person, and then feeling that they've just killed you, when you needed them, or they were the one talking about you,
Yeah.
the ones that weren't there, and that's what Jesus went through. He did nothing but love people, and they never responded back. That's really our goal as a Christian, is to pay back the love that God has given us, And so, how many friends or how many people do you know fits that description of everything that the Bible would say is a friend? If you have one, you got a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody who will always be there. I remember when I got diagnosed with cancer, I really had, and I have a lot of friends, people I know, and Christians, but there was one man that actually has been my friend before I was a man of God, for probably close to 35, 40 years. Not that close to God. He's kind of a godly man, but I kid, he's my one friend from my previous life. He rallied to me, and he's the one that drove me to the specialist, to Manhattan, the one that went through it with me. And it was really great because he had gone through colon cancer years ago. And even though we weren't logistically close, I came real close to him and really was the only one that helped him through that, and was there as his support. And that's a friend. And the thing is, I found out with cancer, it scares a lot of people. And they don't want to be around it, and they're afraid they're going to lose you. And their response may be to disconnect. Well, that's not what a friend does. A friend is willing to take the pain of loss and seeing the worst of things to be there with their friend. Now, how many people do we have in our life that are friends like that? And we need to stop sharing our life with this list we have on social media. Even most of the people that we know casually, because information is power. How many people do you want to have power over your life? That's an important thing to think about. Bobby?
Yeah. I know we don't have much time left, but have a quick little story. I'll just tell it. And
Right.
It has nothing to do with this is just something. I was watching a program last night, Naked and Alone, where they put somebody naked in the middle of the jungle or something, and they have to survive. So they had a man and a woman, which they do. And they developed this tremendous bond, these two. It was it was incredible. And they couldn't find food. 7-8 days without food. She ended up falling over, hitting her head, and this guy went out. I got to find food. He's going all around food, and he's seen the medic tent, which he was not supposed to see, which was the crew hanging out. And he went in there, and he snuck food for her because he just couldn't find food, and he knew that she was dependent on him. And anyway, he got caught, and they both got kicked off. But he risked everything for her health, that bond that they developed just over that short period of time.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to have someone in your life like that who would do something that could, or sacrifice themselves to help and help that other person flourish, and just...
Well, I think that bond that you were talking about, people are afraid to do life together with people. Even in church, people are used to they come Sunday and then they hear a nice message and they sing a couple songs, they go home and they think everything's fine. But there's no strength in that. That doesn't get you through life. It's the people that actually are together all the time. We eat together, we play golf together. I'm playing golf with the people in my church, and we do everything together. And you get to bond, and then when people are going through things, you go through it together. Church was never meant to be, we come on Sunday and just see each other and everything's fine, and then, you share the rest of your life with people that are just casual strangers and have no bond of caring with you. And that's important. That's what church was all about. You can't do this life without a crew. We all need a crew. We all need a tribe. We all need people to fight through this war of life with. And no, that's an important premise, what you were saying. And one person can save a life if you have one friend.
Yeah.
And so I think we're out of time in this segment.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute after a few words from our sponsors with the word for the week. And something I think is very much needed in this time. We need to focus and really find a way to have just a few good friends, and it changes everything. So we'll be back in a minute with the word for the week.
Hey everybody, this is Motorcycle Mike, the personal injury lawyer. In addition to representing injured motorcyclists for over 30 years now, during that same time, I've represented countless car crash victims and construction workers injured on construction sites. If you need my assistance, go to my website, motorcyclemikeesq.com. I will always be there for you.
Welcome back to the show. This is the word for the week. This is Pastor Ski, Rushmore Biker Church. We've been talking about friendship and how I believe it's at the core of what is wrong with our culture, our society, America, and maybe even the church. You know, friendship has totally lost its meaning. You know, when God created man and brought us together as a humanity, and then when Jesus came to start a new kingdom, that was the whole idea, a new community based on faith, love, and hope. And Jesus wanted to show us what friendship should be like. You know, yes, what we should be like as humans, but also what friendship should be like. And we've gone so far from that to where the word friend really doesn't mean anything anymore. We got a close friend, and we have best friends, and we got besties, and even the fact that we can lightheartedly use these words like besties, we really have lost track of what a friend really is. It's just surface. You know, we need people close to us. We need people that we can hold on to and can hold on to us in this really dark time. You know, Jesus was the one who defined what a friend was. I mean, he came to be our friend. You know, in John chapter 15, Jesus is kind of veering into the high priestly prayer. They prayed for the world, prayed for us, prayed for the church, and prayed for himself. And in John chapter 15, Jesus said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you." And he started this way, but then he goes on to bring it to what we should be with each other. We should love each other as he has loved us. And then he says, "You are my friends. You are my friends." But he says, "You are my friends if you do what I command." No longer do I call you slaves, because you know, when we don't have friendships and we move into the world, we're a slave to the world and the whims of what goes on and peer pressure and everything that this life lays on us. We're actually in slavery to a culture and a way of doing things. And he says, "No longer do I call you slaves, for the slave does not know what the master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all things I have heard from my Father I have made known to you." See, everything that Jesus heard from his Father was love. It was serving. It was sacrificial. Earlier in the show, I kind of brought a little bit of information from the Bible on what friendship is supposed to be. Honesty, sacrifice, going out of the way, being there, telling the hard truths when the hard truths have to be told, not abandoning people in their time of need, getting down in their situations and being with them. That's the story of the Good Samaritan, where it talks about the two that, you know, went by, and then the one Samaritan, who wasn't even a Jew, was the one that got down in the gutter, wrapped his clothes around this person, you know, wasn't ashamed to be in that place, seen with that person. For a Samaritan to be seen with a Jew to be seen with a Samaritan was was just not done. And then he went the distance, and he cared for him, paid for his care. That's what a friend does, and that's what a friend is supposed to be. I mentioned that this world has taken this idea of friendship, changed it, twisted it, made it a light-hearted word that we throw around like it's nothing. And there's words. Words are important. We have a word like love, and what does love mean anymore? When we think about it, what is truth? It's like now we're wrestling with what's truth, facts, and words have lost what they are. See, truth's not relative. Truth is truth. Love is not everything that everybody wants to water it down to be. Love is what love is supposed to be. And friendship, being a friend, is a very intense level of camaraderie, of sacrifice, of two moving together in tandem. One starts to slip, the other picks him up. And we relegate this sometimes only to marriage, and then in the world, it's not even thought of in marriage. It's marriage is something else nowadays. But when we think of two becoming one, actually, we were meant to be in humanity, like David and Jonathan. They were soulmates, and they cared for each other, they loved for each other, they sacrificed for each other, they took risks for each other. And that's what true friendship is. It's really the deepest relationship that we can have in this life. Before somebody gets married, it's important that they become friends, because life gets hard after you're married, and comes at you, makes it hard to develop friendship during the war. And I always tell people when I counsel people for marriage, be friends first. Work on the things that bring you together as friends, because once you get in covenant with someone, it's supposed to be forever. And friendship is supposed to be forever. In the process of finding a friend, and this, how it works in the church, which I believe is one of the few places you can actually find a friend. People come together, and they have a community that is together, and not just once in a while. It's like a Lions Club or a Rotary Club, or a bingo group and a card game, and people that go to a bar and just they drink together once in a while, they party once in a while. People need to come together and be part of a community. I call it a tribe because I like the word tribe, because tribes war together, and they stick together, and they bleed for each other, and they protect each other. And so people come together, and they do life, and they break bread, and they talk about their issues, and they carry each other, and they lift each other, and they pick each other up, and they allow themselves to be picked up by each other. That's how a church is supposed to be formed, and a community is supposed to be, and they get closer together, and then there's tensions and there's fighting, because like family, when people get together, they're all different. There's family, and you work that out. And most of Christianity and most of the letters that Paul and Peter and James write are conflict resolution. It's how do we love each other now that we're all brought together under this banner of Jesus. And you get together and you grow together and you get to know each other, and we share lives and we share testimonies. And this is the process of finding a friend, whether it's in the world or whether it's in a church. And you get to be part of each other's lives, just like family. And then you spend social times together, you spend study times together, and you move in a same direction. And personalities are different, but then as you start to fellowship with people, there'll be a few that you find it easy to talk to. They just seem to be connected to you in some way above all the rest, though we're all friends and we all love each other, and the whole church is full of people who love each other and are friends and brothers and sisters. But then there's those few that you feel a connection that's happening, and then something happens and they're there for you, and maybe vice versa, and you feel compelled more on a higher level than anyone else. And friends are birthed and they're nurtured. They don't just go be my friend. No, friendship is nurtured through a process of being part of a bigger picture, and walking together, eating together, getting to know each other, getting to know each other's stories. And a friend is actually nurtured and developed, and it's actually a covenant, because Jesus came to invite us to friendship. He said, I call you friends. And it all started with the first friend. God called Abraham. He wasn't any better than anybody else. Matter of fact, he was from a pagan world. But God wanted to start somewhere, and he developed a relationship with Abraham. And Abraham responded with a relationship. And then God asked to sacrifice, and Abraham left everything and sacrificed everything, gave everything, and developed a relationship with God. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes like you and me. But in Hebrews, it says that Abraham was called a friend of God. God considered Abraham a friend. Not everyone could be a friend of God. And that kind of gives you an idea of what friendship is about. It's a lot bigger. Don't let everyone be your friend, because you'll find yourself on a bloody cross. And you know what I'm talking about. Maybe all of you have given your friendship to the 10th degree to someone who abused it, used it. And you felt like you were just filleted and cut apart. And that's what happens when friendship goes the wrong way. And so my advice, learn to be a friend. Because when you become a friend and you want to be that person as described as a friend, that serves and sacrifices and goes a distance and is there, and you are the one making the move. It's like electrons that attract each other, and you'll find a friend, and maybe you'll be graced by God to have more than one true friend. But also in that process, you're going to be surrounded by people who care for you and love for you, and you love them. Because when you become a friend, you attract people, because everybody wants someone like that around them. Be a friend, and you'll have all the friends you want. So that's my word for the week. I hope you take this one to heart, because we're in tough times. James Taylor sang it, you got a friend. What an intense thought when you can say that and really know what a friend is. So that's my word for the week. This is Pastor Ski from the Russianwood Biker Church. I will see you next week on Answers from Mars Hill. And be a friend, and you'll find a friend. God bless you all. See you on the road.